up, everybody? That's better. I like my new setup here. I got a look. There's a love seat here for when people come in for lessons. That's nice and low armed and stuff for playing guitar. The whiteboard, computer, TV monitor, everything over there. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. Anyway, I think everybody who follows what I do is fully aware of. I'll just make it easy so you remember the email from Steve Jones, New York Sire Stakes trustee, state appointed, by the way, in control of your Sire Stakes, County Fair Stakes, also in control of your New York State Horse Breeders Development Fund, $15+ million. That's all that money in a hole that's supposed to promote the breeding and grassroots racing of standardbreds in the state of New York. If you read their mission statement, it is clear what their job is to do. And I asked Mr. Scunziano for his response and got none, which proves to me again that I don't trust any of them. You're all worthless. Okay? I have the right to say that. You're taking money from the state of New York that can easily be earmarked towards anything in the state of New York that's far more worthy and deserving than harness racing. And the reason I say that is by what I'm going to read you now, which is something I posted on, of all places, Horseplot, because I know that's the fastest way to get things around. So fast that 5 minutes after I posted this and then called the middleman, let's say, the pivot man on this, who informed me of what was going on and told me what the person that was in trouble. And I finally, like I said, he had nowhere else to go, called his friend, who's a mutual friend of mine, friend of his, crying in tears, doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. Why are they trying to push me out of the game? Why are they trying to take away what I've worked so hard for, which is his breeding farm, his mares, his operation in Warwick, New York, and have the one person who he thought you should call when there's an issue or questions or whatever with what's going on, because he read that email and was like, what the fuck? And then read it and goes, this isn't good. How did this happen? How did you let this go through? I thought that you had this handled. You're the trustee who wrote the bill. You're the trustee who wrote the bill and sent it to the lobbyists and through the legislature who was going to have this done to help us all, help from the big guys to the little guys, inequality, right? And instead, we get this, and then screamed at by the person who was the person responsible for the bill. But like I said, at the open house, the state's not stupid. They know what's going on. They took the bill and they tweaked it. They called Mr. Jones on his arrogance, if you want to call it that he just expects everything to be signed off like it used to be. And I got to give, this is kind of another thing. At least the legislators were smart enough to see what he was doing. And before it went to Kathy Hochul to sign it, they made some changes. In the end, you got Steve Jones screaming at the breeders of the state of New York. So here's what happens. This man calls him. You know what was written in the email. If you don't, I'm not going to continue to repeat things, because your job as the people who have chosen harness racing for their careers, you should know all this stuff. This is what I mean about that. The people in harness racing, many of them are uneducated and, like Mr. Garrell said, indoctrinated, just expecting the money to just keep coming in because it's all we know how to do. This is all we know. Too bad. You got to fight sometimes. So that's what's happening here. They took away what I had. And like I said to Eric, don't let them take away what you have. Now, what many people don't realize is who this man is. Maybe people inside the game know who he is and what he's done and what he does, but people outside the game don't, who understand the politics and the legalities behind all this and how that money is to be spent. And if you've got a state-appointed trustee coercing people who are here to fulfill the mission statement of the New York State Department of Agriculture, the New York State Horse Breeders Development Fund, and the New York Sire Stakes, which he just uses as his toy by doing things like knock out XLCB, take the money, kick it up to the rich guys, right? Prove me wrong. So anyway, a few things happened this weekend where I know, and I said to him the last time I talked to him, I said, Eric, you've got everybody behind you. It may sound crazy, but contacting me, I may not be able to get on the grunt, but the people that I know what to do with that email and what's happened and how he was talked to, spoken to, threatened, talked down to, berated, degraded, everything, coerced, manipulated by Steve Jones. That now I can come clean to everyone who doesn't know or understand. So I put this on Horseplop. It's the best place to get things started. And then I take what I say there, print it out, and I can talk about it and say it, read it into my YouTube channel. So here's what I said. And the topic was what Steve Jones has done to this man who's a New York City firefighter. So I'm just going to read it through. I'm not going to give any offer any opinions or anything. This is what I said to get it out there. What's happening now? Now I'll tell the whole story of this scumbag. If you fools haven't figured it out yet, the gentleman who called me seeking help with the problem he's having with Steve Jones is a 25-year veteran New York City firefighter, New York's bravest, in capital letters. Those guys who save lives each day, and in this case, just so happen to also happens to love standardbreds. And I mean, he loves them on a level that even I envy. It's true. The man worked multiple jobs to fund his dream that is now a reality just down the road from here at Stoneview Horse Farm in Warwick. A standardbred, and I emphasize that always, breeding farm where by his own sweat has had some success with both racehorses and breeding his 40-odd mares at any given time. The same mares that pompous prick, Steve Jones, trustee of New York Sire Stakes and New York Breeders Development Fund, told this man, who is 100,000 times a man that Nepo baby Steve Jones ever was, to sell most of his mares. Strike one. If he isn't in agreement with the new ship seaman bill, or how Mr. Jones was handling the situation when he read his childish fucking rant of an email screaming at the members of the breeding industry in New York State. All Eric Tario wanted was answers from the person he thought would have them. Instead, and I even say in here, notice I'm typing like that of the prick, meaning like in the email where he tries to make his emphasis, whatever. He was screamed at, cursed at, told to sell most of his mares. And boo-hoo, you won't be getting your breeding next year in the numbers you expect to stallions here in New York City, to where he even says, well, maybe you should buy into this one, Huntsville, or maybe you should buy share. Can you imagine? This is the I said I wasn't going to do that, but state-appointed trustee. Conflict of interest, code of ethics, number 6, New York Sire Stakes. You won't expect to get in the stallions here in New York State. And he even said, if he doesn't like what he is saying, to go call Mike Petrelli. Maybe he will believe you. Eric, in his own words, was in tears, literally in fucking tears, by what this scumbag told him. This is Horseplop, but I want you to all hear it. He's worked for decades protecting and saving people. Read the attached award supplement from the actual FDNY. It was a story of how these people, him and his firehouse, saved people from dying in burning buildings, and they were awarded with the pictures and everything to prove it. Things that none of us could comprehend. Saving people, read the attached award to be treated like this. Fuck, I said. Steve, you mumbling prick, who told me yesterday, I don't know. If you watched the video of me calling him yesterday, I was giving him the opportunity once to answer and to answer to this. I didn't want to hear any reasons, excuses, whatever. So if you go watch it, you'll see. He hung up on me. Who are you to treat a man like this? I'm saying this to Steve Jones right now, actually. Who cares about people and loves standardbreds, who has more than done his part in attempting to keep the breeding industry of New York State going out of his effing pocket with money he's earned as a New York City firefighter. Think about that. In an industry that lives off welfare and that people feel entitled as though should be carried constantly by the state of New York through subsidies, the whole spiel. A New York City firefighter who every day he goes to work may not come home, takes that money and puts it into breeding more standardbreds and has a beautiful farm here in Warwick. So I said, you fucking C words. I don't want to say that one. Here, can call me all you want, because this is actually on Horseplot. This is disgusting on a level I cannot wrap my head around. And for a man who is one of New York's bravest, he was scared. And he was. I'm not going to go into our conversation, but he's scared. He was worried about what we all are when we go public or go look for help outside their kingdom of repercussion. And this man has tens of millions of dollars in assets, equity, whatever you call it, invested into the game here in Warwick. Scared of repercussion if he went public with this. So I reiterated this. No, Eric, Steve Jones should be scared of this going public. Now that my friends in the media have confirmed its validity, we have. There's no reason to hide it. Nobody is immune from Mr. Jones's attitude. That comes from never actually having to work for $1 to acquire anything in his life. Eric Taddeo breaks into burning buildings to save people from burning to death. Takes the money he's earned by doing so and invests it into his love for standardbreds. Me going to New York City, yeah, whatever, and doing what I do. This man takes the money that he's earned from going into burning buildings to save people from burning to death and invests it into harness racing and creating more babies. And is treated like this. I'm doing what I said I wouldn't do. Whatever. I told him, Eric, do not back down or cower. You are so much better of a man and human being than that Nepo baby. Not only do you have the truth on your side, you also have public sentiment and appreciation on your side. And that's the truth. I don't think he looked at it from that angle. Look at what you do. And look at what you do with what you've earned from what you do. I think the public is going to side with you, especially the law will, because what he's done is illegal. But, and seeing what you're doing as opposed to a guy that just wants to manipulate others and take money. Nobody is immune from Mr. Jones's attitude. And that's where I go into take some money in there. I told him, do not ever cower. You are so much better of a human being than him. I'm looking down through what my little notes. Simply, this man is a good man. He needs no other accolades. I'm talking about Eric. He just loves what he's doing. He loves what he does. He loves what he does in the city, and he loves what he does up here. And he shoes horses too. He wants nothing in return, just to be left alone. Nope. Nobody's immune from Mr. Jones. I actually get furious at this crap now. So I said, he wants nothing else, no accolades. Steve Jones wants money, more money, free money, bullshit awards, especially Breeders' Awards that he's in control of, and most of all, people to fear him. which almost worked here because it's true. All right, let me get to this. Well, guess what? If you people still lean toward him, meaning Steve Jones, you are just as low and disgusting as he is. I thought the rifles to the heads of healthy mayors was as bad as it gets. Remember, the videos are out there that the neighbor took with the drones and everything else that was going on there when Mr. Jones's truck and trailer showed up, West Fisher, and that was just one of many. What has been done to this man is beyond reproach, and that's how he left it. First response was, "Are you crazy?" by one of these people. "Who are you to this and this and this?" And immediately coming to this fuck's defense and trying to point me out as the bad guy. Fine. Okay, fine. What are you going to do? Throw me out of historic track? Throw me out of the business? Call the New Jersey State Police on me because I took facts out of the Meadowlands? Remember all these things that happened? This is part of the control that I tried to tell you. And I love the sport and I adore the horses. But now to see that they will go so far as to even do this to this man, a man like this, not me, a bum. I am to harness racing what harness racing is to society. If harness racing disappears tomorrow, nobody outside the industry, okay, is going to notice. And it's not going to have any effect on anybody. If I disappeared from harness racing, which I did, nobody's going to notice except for a bunch that have seen what I've done. But is it going to change anything? No. But to do this to this kind of man, who all he did was call Steve Jones because he is the man, and Mark Ford, this is a separate story that nobody knows about yet. I'm getting more on Mark Ford's involvement in this too. What's the common denominator here with Mark Ford and Steve Jones? Goshen yearling sale, right? What are we talking about here? Controlling the breeding industry, coercing a person who is an invested breeder in the state of New York as a trustee who is appointed by the state Senate in his position, who is trying to coerce a breeder to sell his mares when the mission of the Department of Ag and the Breeders Development Fund is to continue to push forward and to create a bigger breeding industry. And if you don't like it, well, go and if you can go buy more. And he specifically said Huntsville. This is why Ralph Scanziano and Richard Ball, the other two trustees, one of you is the director of the Department of Ag, and the other is the director of New York State Gaming, are the other two votes in this three-man board of trustees who votes on all this. Go read your code of ethics. It simply states that a man in Steve Jones's position should not be in Steve Jones's position as trustee for the very reason that there is a conflict of interest, and by everything that he has in his life and his business personally. God bless you, Steve. You got daddy's farm, right? You're making money with it. Beautiful place, whatever. Good. Make money. It's the idea. I agree. But you love to affect everybody else when it comes to their livelihood and their futures, don't you, Steve? You did it to me. You've done it to others. And now you've done it to this man. I think I'm done. I think I've accomplished everything I can possibly accomplish, meaning if you people in the game and the people in the state can't see what's going on here with the money that's being literally handed over from the state of New York to support a dead industry that abuses, kills standardbreds, creates them, uses them, abuses them, kills them, and cheats the public every day with their own money. I don't want to hear that this money comes from VLTs. Blah, 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 blah. No, this is money that's generated by the state of New York through the New York State Lottery, which is technically what VLT stands for, Video Lottery Terminal. That's why the percentages are the same as a scratch-off ticket. The payback is 92% across the board. And this was a way that the state got, because we didn't have casino gaming then. Now we do. Whole other thing. But rather than take what was basically a blessing to help try to save harness racing at the tune of 84% of your purse structure, as opposed to 32% with the thoroughbreds, they didn't even need it. But you people took a free ride, beat it to death, abused it, and now we're at a point where you could lose it. And rather than say, hey, it's time for us to straighten up, no. I kind of said it that it's we're at the point now where the village is burning, and the people that are in charge are pillaging it as they leave, taking the artwork, the cash, the gold, all right, and leaving everybody else to burn. Perfect example is, again, back to Mr. Ball and Mr. Scunziano. Mr. Scunziano told me in a phone call 2 years ago, year and a half ago, whenever that, right, about the same time as the hearing here, about this ship seaman bill, changing the rules was happening. First, he asked me to please just keep it within the lines. I said, I'm not here to cause problem. Immediately, I'm the fucking devil. But I respected it, and I spoke from the heart. And he thanked me. But he also told me that there's nothing he can do about it because he's a state appointee. Well, maybe it's time that all of you get together and start doing your goddamn jobs to protect the offices of which you lead in the state of New York. And if nothing else, make the people aware who have put this man in his position, as well as the president Goshen Stark track, right out the window there. I can see the office and I can see the Arden Barn right there because I'm in my office now. And dictate and direct and talk down to people like he did there. I believe when I called Mr. Jones the day that I got thrown out of there with no notice and my mare still in cross ties, and Ed Glick said to me, I don't want to hear your sob stories. You need to leave now. And I said, my mare's still in cross ties. I don't care, he said. The guy that drives around all day in circles. I called Steve and I said, Steve, listen, what's going on? Any way that we can fix this, whatever, I know, but I said, I'm just here because I care about my animals. What am I guilty of? The decision has been made and it cannot be changed. Seems as though the roles have been reversed here now, Steve. There's no stopping this. I say this like anything else that I start. Like when I started, what happened to Fred Bourgault. Once I handed over the information to Holly Schoonmaker, his fate was sealed because I started in motion the inevitable. And if you broke the law or threatened or coerced or manipulated someone, anybody, all right, you got away with it with me. But forget about it. That ship has long sailed. But what you've done to this man, you're going to find out one way or the other. If what you're doing is legal, well, there's no hope for the organization called New York State Department of Ag, who downlegs to the New York State Horse Breeders Development Fund, which funds the breeding industry and New York sire stakes in New York State. It literally is just go in and take whatever you want and do what you will with it. And if that's the case, Noah Shackman will have a field day with this from the New York Times. May not be in 6 months, may not be in a year, but the inevitable is coming. What you're doing is not making it any better for the perception of harness racing to the public of the state of New York with what you're doing, because they're going to find out. People have said to me, I can't believe you went there and you told that reporter or whatever, and then you're one of the reasons harness racing is dying. I'm one of the reasons harness racing is dying. First of all, harness racing is dead. Harness racing is living in a coma. If you ever saw that movie from the 70s, and it's got all those, it's hanging from the ceiling, drop ceiling, just like this, actually. They were keeping these people alive. I think they were using them for food. I don't know. Or was that Soylent Green? Whatever it was. The point is, all those tubes come directly from Albany. Okay? One of these days, blaming me for everything that's happened. No, I'm the first horseman from within who's spoken openly about everything that goes on in harness racing that is wrong with harness racing. And if anybody has a problem with that, okay, you take that over there, the other side of this building, and go in the main office and you ask Linda, or I think who else is in there? I forgot. It's not Joy. Joy's gone. I forgot the other one's name. But just ask for Steve Jones. You all know who he is. And you ask him, so what was the real reason you threw Mike Petrilli out of here again? He was complaining about the ice online on Facebook. That day led to all this. And I think it's ironic that this will end, and so poetic that it's my last thing, because I don't want to do this anymore. But I finally, by accident, have been able to find the person who he messed with the wrong person this time, who came to me to expose him for what he actually is and what I've been saying for the last 2 years. The universe has a way of balancing the books now, doesn't it? Peace, everyone.